on your second tour, what was your feelings in going back? Were you in it, or did you have any kind of, were you hesitant?
Well, the thing is that when you from the first
Because
tour,
now you know. I mean,
you know and you understand, and
yeah.
you know, and you could see that the policies that the U.S. had, from the political to how the war was being run, you know, to some of the other activities that were going on. It's like, it's not going to be a good ending. There's no way that we could that was going to be a win for the South. But you're there supporting the guys on the ground.
So you were looking at it from a military standpoint and a political standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, internally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I had a political science teacher in high school, and one of the papers that I wrote was on whether war was inevitable in Vietnam. That was before I graduated from high school.
Wow.
In the early '60s. Yeah.
So you writing that paper, there was a whole bunch of, I'm trying to put it in context with the conversations, the dinner table conversations were about this thing that's happening over there. That at the time, most Americans didn't even know anything about in Vietnam, right?
Well,
I mean, regular Americans. Regular people.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, because the thing is that we had to read current events, on a weekly basis. Matter of fact, we had to do weekly reports of articles that we read in the newspaper that we wrote our take on them and hand them in to our political science teacher, my last year in high school. So, and he wanted us to read. I mean, that was it. I mean, you just read and keep up with current events.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do a second tour and you decide you're done. What were your thoughts on exiting the military at this point? And now you're talking about 18, you got an 18, now you did 2 more tours, you're talking like 10 years of war. Now you're coming out, talk about going into Morehouse, how you struggled then, like just, trying to acclimate yourself back into life. What was it like at that point, coming out and coming back into civilian world?
Well, after I got out, I moved back to Atlanta. Well, I moved to Atlanta. And, okay, what am I going to do? Trying to find a job. So I got a job. I enrolled in night school, joined the Georgia National Guard. So, so I'm doing drills and going to school at night. Going to school at night early and then going to work at night, because I wound up being hired by a company that was manufacturing in the paper business. So I was hired to go into sales, but they had some issues with how they were treating black people in the production facility. So I wound up being a plant manager, on the night shift.
So it sounds like to me, almost every stage of your professional life, you were in leadership positions.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the temperament like? What was the climate like? I mean, we read about it, and of course I was a child during that time. I wasn't a man at that time. What was it like? I get different stories about whether, it was rough on a brother back then, and some people say, no, as long as you had agency, the world was your oyster. A lot of people downplay the racism. Some people say that it was, for you, in your life, in your experience, during that period when you got out, what did you see?
Well, what I saw was that America was really trying to grapple with whether the country was going to come apart or not. And it was black people from the civil rights era that had been pushing for change. And so you had corporate leadership, businesses saying, hey, let's give people a chance.
Okay.
And that was why many black folk got opportunities that they otherwise would not have gotten had it not been for the civil rights movement. And I remember in Chicago, when Dr. King was there, you had corporations, would send people out, and they'd see a black woman or black man that they thought may, have some education or agency, based on how they looked and carried themselves, and they would, well, what do you do? And they were offering them jobs right away. So basically, it's like, hey, let's give these black folks some jobs. Let's pull them into the American dream, and that way we can quell everything.
Gotcha.
And then some black people bought into that. Oh man, I got this job, and this, that, and the other. I'm going, and yeah, there's some stuff that's happened, but I'm going to pick my fight. Well, no, the fight has come to you.
Yeah.
So you ain't picking anything.
Yeah.
You're deciding whether you're going to engage or not. So, and some, because they were making more money, they got to buy a different kind of car, they got to live in a different kind of neighborhood. They bought into this idea that, some white people say, oh, Clovis, you're so different than other black folks. No, I'm me.
Yeah.
So this whole thing of, oh, you're better than them. No, I ain't buying into that.
Yeah.
Because I know people who were, have had tough time all their lives, to people who were just absolutely brilliant. So, I'm just living my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this idea that you're gonna basically try to propagandize me that I'm something different, I'm some kind of special black person, I ain't buying that.
So you saw, from a cultural standpoint, in the black community, you saw a divide happening there.
Yes.
I mean, the civil rights movement, and right after that, you had the Black Power movement, which you were in the military. I mean, you were in the thick of it then. You probably didn't really have a direct connection to that, other than the brothers in the military that was fighting in the military.
Right. Yeah.
But in civilian life, I mean, that was a very powerful thing that was happening, although it was short. So I guess my question is, did you see, when you came back home and you got into management, and you just explained eloquently how they did it, right? Among black people, did you see that divide? Did you hear those conversations where,
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, look, black folk are amazing. I mean, we can perform and do stuff. And so you get guys who buy into, hey, I'm now part of corporate America, I'm this, I'm that, so you have that. And then you have other people who understand, hey, I may be the first, but I ain't gonna be the last. And I'm gonna bring people with me. So it all depends upon what the mindset of the person is.
Yeah. Because today I hear the same things, right? But it's more, to me, it feels more toxic. Like, for example, you have a very conservative, I would even say bordering on the alt-right black conservative, who pretty much just like are very disrespectful toward the people they call the hoteps and the woke people, right? Like, people that are connected to the community, trying to improve the community. Of course, everybody's not perfect. Somebody's got something going on that they target and they try to make a big deal about, personality thing, or maybe they, did something. But there's this big divide, like, and big debate about whether their method of staying in the community and trying to improve the community is the way to go, versus just get money and assimilate and, and don't worry about the people that,
Well, it's been expressed this way, that assimilation is personal annihilation.
Okay.
Because you're buying into a system that was never for you, always against you. Even the U.S. government had policies.
Yes.
So what are you buying into? Are you buying into wanting to make a better life for all humanity? Or are you buying into the very system that puts you at a disadvantage and not just throwing some money at you for you to go out and basically promote them.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. I mean, that's as I see it.
Okay. So
And-
I got off board there. I went on a tangent
No,
there.
no,
So
no, but the thing is, what you're bringing up is something that W.E.B. Du Bois articulated in this book.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the education of black people. So, I mean, we've had the same thing because look at the conditioning over centuries. You have just the oppression. You have some people who were resistant. You had some people who say, "Hey, I just can't take it anymore. I'm just going to give in to it." So you have that divide that's already there.
Yeah.
Then you put in people who, on the one hand, say, "Oh, they are defined as a leader, and this is how you need to act. This is what you need to do." But it's always about being complicit.
I always say, and I'm bringing this up because I'm talking to someone who actually was in his prime during this time, so no one better can set me on the right track than a person like yourself. I always said that after Dr. King died, the movement died. I always ask, what happened to all those people that was behind him? Why didn't anybody else pick up the mantle? And I'm reminded that people got government jobs. All of a sudden, you started seeing black mayors pop up. You started seeing more congressmen and more political people. And regular people thought, wow, we got representation. There's going to be some changes, or we're at least going to get some people in there to kind of, advocate for us. And they came into the community, and it didn't happen. So give me your perspective on that, because I feel like people just went and got government jobs, and Dr. King, they killed 2 or 3 of our big leaders, and people were like, nah, I ain't trying to go out like that.
Yeah. Well, that was a part of it. You have people who are being killed, so you have that aspect of it. Do I want to go out that way? And if I do push forward, then what benefit is it going to be for me to lose my life? And then you had people who were co-opted. You have the FBI that's fully, you have the federal agencies that are looking at people, and you have some indiscretions that were pointed out to folks. Well, hey, if you don't want this exposed, if you don't want this charge brought against you, this is a path you need to travel.
Gotcha.
But still, you still have people who, and see, the thing is that Dr. King said he was the drum major. He's the guy out front. There were a lot of people behind him. And there are still a lot of people out there who are still in the fight for justice, for righteousness, for fairness. That never went away.